Great, thanks for coming in. Cheers. Phil, you go first? Now, I think. Yeah. Just before we begin, the Mayor would like to say something.
Yes.
Gil. All right, can we just have
Gil,
Jake?
pay attention.
Jake, Andre, before we get started.
Hey, today, just everyone, for everyone's information, today's the last time we'll see Gil Cox at this committee in his capacity as Chair of Transwaste. This is because, as many of you know, he is retiring from his role as Chair of Transwaste. Gil was appointed as the Transwaste Chair in 1999 when his hair was a different colour. And I probably helped, when I was on there for 3 years, probably helped change it. Anyway, he has served for 25 years, unbelievable. He has had continual support from the 5 council shareholders and the 50% shareholder Waste Management New Zealand right throughout that time, which shows how much respect and trust he has. I've known Gil for many years, and it's been an absolute pleasure to serve on any board that Gil has been a part of. As Chair, he has always been kept up to speed, as well as keeping his directors up to speed. It is a great relationship builder and maintains a no surprises approach. As well as Transwaste, Gil has also served, on many boards with the council, Christchurch City Holdings, Te Kaho Project Delivery, Venues Autorati, to name a few. He's on a lot more other things as well. We are very lucky to have his expertise across the range of council areas. On a personal level, Gil shares my passion for motor racing, and I've really enjoyed seeing him out at the track over the years. Gil, it has been wonderful to work with you. On behalf of the council, I'd just like to say how much your contributions are appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Phil, and thank you to all of you for trusting me so much to do some of the things I've done, and particularly, and I never thought I'd ever say this, to trust me with your waste. Because it's something we try and say at Transwaste all the time. It's not our waste. Well, a tiny little bit of it might be, but it's your waste. And people need to understand that we're dealing with your waste. And one of the things we've tried to do in recent years, and I am going to mention a person that's really important in this, and that's Gareth James. But Gareth and I decided some years ago, quietly over a coffee, I think it was, because neither of us drink, we decided that we had to change the narrative a bit around waste, from being we just deal with your waste, to what we do is take waste as a raw material and try and extract the last bit of value we can out of it, while we are a great protector, if I can call it that, of waste and emissions. So that's the change you're seeing in the narrative, and it's been a real privilege to be involved in an industry that I thought I would never, had no aspirations to be involved in at the time, for so long, and just see the development that's taken place and see the passion of the people that work looking after your waste. So thank you for the trust you've put in me over the years, and I'll still be around. Thank you.
So, do you want to touch on your annual report? The Mayor is happy to move it, and Tyrone looks like he's happy to second it. Do you want to run through what you'd like to? And then...
No, Sam, I don't, because there might be things in there I don't know. Yeah. We've got a session with Christchurch City Council with the management team of Transwaste and myself, and maybe one of the other directors, on the 5th of November. And what I'd rather do is use that time to go through the annual report and also, our current year's process or progress to date, and where our forecasts are looking for this current year. So I think that would be a much more comprehensive way of doing it, if you're happy for that to happen. But I'm happy to take questions on the annual report.
Well, it's been moved and seconded.
One question.
Phil has a question. Yep.
Gil, in the paper the other day it said, heavens to Betsy, we're 50% through at Cape Valley. I know that's not right, because there's a shed load more land in what you and I used to call Cape Valley 2. So people shouldn't worry that in 20 years we're going to be in strife, because we're not.
No. Look, just to fill that in, and I took the opportunity, which I'm one of these people who believe sometimes you can have a positive relationship with the media, and I took the opportunity of making sure that it was very clear, both at Christchurch press level, or national media if you like, and also at the local North Canterbury media, which is quite important as far as Transwaste is concerned. Where we are, we've got a consent that lasts on the patch of 37 hectares. We are disposing waste of at the moment, into at the moment. We've got a consent that lasts till 2039. We will probably have a little bit more space in that. We might look to get a consent extension for a year or two, the way things are going. We are halfway through filling that 37 hectares. We own 1,300 hectares, and in that 1,300 hectares are 2 more valleys. If you're in the States, they call them canyons. 2 more valleys that we can, that are suitable for putting waste in, that are under exactly the same geological structure as we've got now. So it would be the same system. The first one will give us about another 60 years, and the second one about another 70 to 100 years, if we were to go down that track. Both of those would have to be consented in due course. So there's no guarantees about that, and we should go through the full consenting process. But the stories we read from others that are trying to consent landfills in Canterbury, that Canterbury's running out of landfill space, no. That's the very reason, one of the reasons that Kate Valley was chosen. It gave us a long runway for dealing with your waste.
And just one other, is it still roughly, because it was when I was on Transwaste Board, about 18% of it's what I'd call red rubbish and the rest is just contaminated dirt? Is it still around about those numbers?
Yeah, it exactly. It's about 18-19% this year, and that's what you would see, the waste that you put out at the gate that ends up that's not diverted, that ends up at Kate Valley, is about 18% of the total waste in any one year that goes into Kate Valley. Around about, let me get these numbers right, about another 15% is what we would call special waste. That's waste that needs special treatment, and that can range from medical waste through to contaminants and various things that need special treatment, largely coming from industrial or commercial purposes. The remainder, there's about another variable amount that's often around 10% of contaminated soils, and that's the number that we're singularly unsuccessful in budgeting and forecasting, because it depends on what projects are going to start in the city, because it's largely contaminated soils, but it's how those developers then treat that soil. They could leave it on site and just cement it, cover it, or they could have to take it off site, and therefore it largely will come to Kate Valley. If you think about contaminated soils, it's not exclusively, but you think about it as potentially asbestos, in some asbestos in those soils. Very low level of contamination, that will come to Kate Valley. The balance of what I'm talking about is commercial industrial waste. That's by far the greatest, 70% of what we take as commercial industrial waste.
Okay, thank you. Kelly had something, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, Gil, thank you. Currently, you're capturing methane and powering 4 generators,
Yes.
which produces enough power to power some 4,000 homes. I understand that there is a potential to power 8,000 homes, double that. How is that work progressing to move that forward?
Can I say things that I probably shouldn't say?
No, probably don't.
Yeah. Bearing in mind, I guess, Kelly, that you might have missed it at the beginning. Gil's, they are coming back to do a more in-depth session with us as well.
Okay.
So
And we will cover that. But look, we're constrained because of a main power line at the moment to 11 kV. We can only punch 2 megawatts, just over 2 megawatts down that 11 kV line. We need to get a lot more. They've kept promising that as part of their wind farm development. That's been going on for 18 years. Nothing's happened. We are probably going to go down the track of building our own line so that we can get to the 8 megawatts, potentially going into the national grid, though some of it could get diverted to other uses, such as our own electrification of our own fleet, or even hydrogen production.
Well, that's great.
I'll talk about a lot more about that on the 5th.
Very glad you're looking at that.
great, thank you, Gil, for that. And that's been moved and seconded. and I guess just to reiterate what the Mayor has said, which is, we really value you being part of the Christchurch City Council family, and I think in a lot of times you've really stepped into the fold when we've needed it, and this is probably another really good example of something that's run really well with your leadership. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, and just watch which bin you put your waste in.
I now understand why Phil really enjoyed that board. Because not many people enjoy rubbish, so that's yeah. Okay, so let's move and seconded. All in favour? Aye. Against? That's carried. Thanks very much. Cheers. So now we'll move into public excluded.